The role of Chief Global Analyst sounds very grandiose, but basically I'm there to help our client service teams around the world and to help our clients address specific issues and topics that are keeping them awake at night. And hopefully I come up with points of view as to what they might do to address those issues. Sensory marketing is very straightforward. It's using all the 5 major senses to engage people with a more compelling brand experience. If you think about all of the advertising that's out there, the vast majority of it is visual or visual and audible. But we kind of forget about things like touch, taste, smell, even though those can have an enormously powerful influence on how we react to brands. That was a challenging project because Martin, when he was writing the book, came to me and said, we need to illustrate the book, we need to prove that the more senses people come into contact with or use to experience a brand, it impacts the value of that brand, their loyalty to it. And it's like, how are we going to do this? So we started with an exploratory phase, which was to do qualitative research with respondents in, I think, about 14 countries around the world, exploring how they react to the brands, whether they notice their senses, and then constructing a survey that we did in the US, the UK, and Japan to quantify that, so to actually provide some numeric data that would help illustrate the book. The basic finding, the most compelling finding, was that the more positive and distinctive sensory impressions that came to mind when people thought about the brand, the more loyal they were to the brand. Now, of course, that can be a chicken or an egg. So because they have more experience with the brand, because they're loyal to it, they may remember more sensory impressions. But there's a lot of academic evidence to suggest that the senses do actually prime us and create that sense of connection, make it stronger than it would be otherwise. So what we were finding was very similar to what we see in the academic research as well. There are many different examples. Marketers are particularly good at taking what's good about their brand and making sure that people experience it. Some of the brands that I've come across, Häagen-Dazs, the ice cream in China, has actually stepped to very limited sales through grocery stores. They have their own cafes. And one of the things that they do every morning is that they bake ice cream cones or waffle cones in the store so that the aroma spreads through, so that when people come in, there's that distinctive smell of the Häagen-Dazs store. The example I like to use is Mercedes. What does a Mercedes taste like? And you could get oil and metal, but what about some really classy dark chocolates? Something that really creates a taste sensation that is rich, flavorful, in the way that the car is a rich and truly positive sensory experience. I think obviously direct mail is one of those channels where you can engage people, as you've proven with the Engage the Senses campaign. I think it's shown that you don't have to limit yourself in terms of the potential creativity. There's no doubt that the degree of involvement with the physical object versus the visual only object is hugely greater. So you have that basic advantage going for you, that you're already engaging more than one sense. I will just say though that, while they are more limited, it is perfectly possible to evoke senses through other marketing channels, and probably the ideal world is where people are primed through, let's call it a broadcast channel, online or whatever, and then they get the direct mail piece. They're already primed to interact with it. I think one of the biggest challenges today is that we are dealing with markets that are more and more fragmented. Whether that's fragmentation of channels, fragmentation of consumer groups, audiences. And the challenge for marketers is to find something that is consistently motivating across a wide range of people. And that means that understanding their needs, their wants, their desires is mission critical. So for me, I find it very difficult to believe that you can really do that simply through your own observation, because we all have our own personal inclinations, our own understanding of the world, and to some degree the marketer needs to be able to put themselves in the shoes of their consumer and see the world that they do, and then be able to introduce something into that world that they find engaging, motivating, and distinctive, differentiating, so it separates it out from the other brands that it's competing against. So the book is sort of based around the workshops that we used to hold, where the first half of the book is about what makes a meaningfully different brand, one that resonates with the target audience. And then the second half of it is about the basic means of what we call amplification. So once you know what your brand really stands for, what makes it meaningfully different, how do you push that out into the marketplace?